My 35 male wife 36 female of 7 years leaves me to be on her own, but starts seeing someone else after a week but refuses to say she left me for him. Please help. Apologies for formatting, this is on my phone. It's going to be a long one, but I really need advice as I think she's lying and trying to make me the bad one. Copies of our text exchange will be below. So I have been with her for 11 years. Married for 7 with a 5-year daughter. Our marriage and relationship has been amazing up until she changed a lot from March this year. Long story short. She told me she was unhappy. Didn't know why but wanted to be on her own. We did weekly marriage counseling for 6 months up until she left. The main reason she told myself. Friends and family, as she has always gone from relationship to relationship and needs to be alone and wants to try living on her own. She leaves on August 19th. We've now been separated for 3 months, and throughout the whole time she was always going out of her way to tell me how good it is having no one and she's working on herself. She would joke and say she's nearly a virgin again after not being intimate with anyone since me, and we split, and said she is doing a Azul cleanse, and even sent me a YouTube link to why it was good, and that I should do it. I can't even think of being with anyone else. I had a gut feeling that she was seeing someone else, but she promised me she wasn't. As part of our co-parenting, we agreed to tell the other person if we moved on or were being romantic with someone. I believed her. Fast forward to Sunday night. We are having some probably too many Halloween drinks at mine while our daughter is asleep. She says she wants to crash at my place as she's had too much to drink. It's 2 a.m. She falls asleep drunk and asks me to get her phone for her and drifts off. Now I know what I did next was wrong, but I had so many gut feelings and reasons as to expect her being with someone else. I went through her phone. First few messages I read from a guy she messages over Instagram are all Azul. I can't wait to see you tonight so you can throw me around the bedroom tonight. I'll give you a blow job right now. After work I just want to kiss you for an hour straight. My heart is racing. I freak out and wake her up to confront her. She initially tries to lie her way out of it until I show her I have her phone and admit to going through it. I apologize and know it was wrong. She admits she started ducking him a week after we split. That they sleep at each other's houses 2 or 3 times a week. She says it's only casual and that they are not in a relationship and he's just a comfort. He is, however, someone special and considers him one of her best friends now. I am absolutely gutted. I still love her, and throughout the split she has given me reasons to believe that we will possibly work it out. I ask her why she lied so much about not being with or sleeping with anyone else so often, and her response was if I knew she was sleeping with someone then I would out of retaliation, and she couldn't bear that. I said how horrible and selfish that is. She said she was going to tell me about him in her own time, and once it was serious, and they were in a relationship, but right now it's nothing. They have no expectations of each other, it is just ex with a friend. She also promises that they weren't chatting while we were together, and as we had been separated so it was fine and none of my business. I don't believe that is true at all. I believe this has been happening for a while, even emotionally, while we were together, and that she has left our family for him. She's not the type to just duck someone so quickly. I believe her plan was to keep it secret until it felt that there had been enough time for her to announce him without people shaming her after an 11-year relationship. She said hasn't even told her best friends about him. Reddit. My questions are: do you think she was planning this all along? Has she left me for someone else? Is what she is doing with him considered a relationship? Is she trying to project bullshit onto me because she is guilty? Text exchange from the morning after below. Me to her. Hey. Thanks for the chat last night. I am so consumed by all of this. It's really ducked me up. I hope you could tell that I am not angry, and I am not going to do anything stupid or try and make your life hard. I am just really hurt. I think the most ever in my life, and I know you can understand that. I do appreciate you trying to answer my questions about what this all is, but the world relationship isn't defined by someone you're seen with in public or tell your friends about or go to dinners with in public. You have never been alone. Properly alone for more than a week, and that's the truth and something you have to accept. You never accomplished what you set out to do. The main reason you left it wasn't someone you slept with once and felt bad about. You have continued to do so and build a relationship with him where you told me he is now your best friend. I know you really did want to spend time without anyone, but you didn't do it, and if you think you did you are only lying to yourself, and deep down you know that. Yes, you've spent some time alone in your house or whatever, but you had someone else in your head. Considering the main reason you left me was to be on your own, and the fact that you never did. It and lied so much about it will always leave me hurt and confused. I do have to just understand that you left me, and what we had to be with someone else. You made a conscious decision to fill the void with someone else again, knowing how much it would destroy me. I have to remember that. I know you would have thought long and hard about it, but you chose him in secret away from everyone else a week after you left. You won't admit it to yourself, it is the truth. You've told everyone you left me to be on your own, but secretly you've been with him. So in turn, no matter how you spin it to yourself and others, you left me to be with him, and I know time will show that because you've already made up your mind. Yesterday was ducked for both of us. Let's hope today is a little better. Her reply. I feel like you are trying to narrate and control the conversation to be what you want to make. You feel better about the situation. I didn't leave you for someone else. I left a marriage that was no longer supportive or growing. I am seeing someone that makes leaving a relationship after 11 years feels a little bit easier in the interim. I hope today is a better day for you, but I hope you reflect on this conversation. You spent most of this conversation telling me that I've left you for someone else, and I am sorry, but that's just not the case, and it's simply just what you want to hear instead of dealing with what our actual problems were, and I won't be an enabler for that. We both need to look at what went wrong in our marriage, and it certainly wasn't someone else. Does it make it easier? Yes. Do I look back? Yes. But that's because I didn't leave you for someone else. I left you for other reasons. I would never look back if I left you for someone else, and you know that deep down. I hope you have a good day. Please help me read it. Hi. Sorry you are going through this. What I think is yes. She left you for him. I think she has this whole plan just to cover the fact she cheated. She doesn't want to be seen as a cheater. So she developed this plan. But now something else. In the end, what does it matter? She left you. So time for you to move on. Yes, it will be hard and painful. But better start now. Begin with seeing her differently. She is not the woman you married anymore. She changed in someone else. You love the woman she was before. You most certainly do not love the woman she is now. Just go ahead and divorce her. Break all contact and talk to her only through a parental app regarding your child. For everything else through your lawyer. Start ignoring her on anything other than regarding your child and divorce. Concentrate on yourself. Stay of alcohol. Alcohol gives you bad advice. Eat healthy. Work out. Study. Work on your career. Anything to occupy your mind and make an even better version of yourself. It will take time. But in the end you will see you will come out stronger and better. But you need to be willing to do the work. Take care. Mr. Big Bull. Thank you. That is great advice. The more I read, the more I am realizing it doesn't matter. There's no point arguing with her about who's right or wrong. She'll never admit it anyway. I am trying my best to work on me, and hopefully the future is brighter. You made a conscious decision to fill the void with someone else again, knowing how much it would destroy me. I have to remember that. Your own words tell you everything you need to know. Now, you need to be strong and shut her out to start your healing. Talk to a divorce lawyer. Get a parenting app. Block your soon-to-be ex-wife on socials. And share her verification privately with those people you need for support. Her secret is not yours. Your healing is not hers. You have a clear understanding of what happened. Now make a clear plan for moving forward and being a great dad. This is fantastic advice and exactly what I needed to hear. I've avoided telling anyone apart from a close family member, as it took me to a really dark place and I needed support. If I just focus on my daughter and myself, it'll be alright. Second story. My mom cheated on my dad. Recently discovered my mom cheated on my dad with her now husband. My parents divorced when I was 4 years old. They had 2 kids. My older sister and me. My dad had said she had cheated in passing with her now husband when I was in high school, but being a teenager and not understanding much about infidelity, I didn't really pay attention to what he said. My dad died when I was 28 years. Couple years ago. He never found anyone after my mom. In fact, although he had his own business and loved my sister and I, he always seemed so lost. I used to think that's just how he was. Until I learned about the affair this year. My mom used to badmouth my dad growing up, saying he was abusive. She also got with her. Now husband the same year my parents separated, but me being so young at the time, had no idea what was going on. Anyway, I guess I'm just so heartbroken for my dad. He wasn't lost like I always thought. Or maybe him being lost was one of the impacts of my mom's infidelity. What he really was, though, was walking around with a broken heart. That just kills me. He even said when he died, I ruined my marriage, with tears going down his face. I should have figured it out sooner, but I didn't. It was my mom who did all the bad-mouthing, not him. In fact, he would address her as your mother, but she would only call him by his first name, and would address her now husband to my sister, and I as your dad. How messed up is that? I should have known. I wish I could hug my dad and tell him it wasn't his fault. That cheating is selfish, and if she was unhappy she could have just left him without having to sleep with another guy. I've been cheated on before, and I know how excruciating it is. I will never understand why people do such a painful thing to someone they say they love. I will never look at or feel the same about my mother again. The same goes for her husband. He moved in on my mom and contributed to hurting my dad, and now me too. I really want nothing to do with either of them. They don't know I figured it out. And I'll never tell them. They don't deserve to know why I'm going to distance myself from them moving forward. I'm writing this here because I can't tell anyone. To tell you all. That cheating breaks your kids' hearts too. My dad was my best friend, and I miss him terribly every day. Now I know he was the strongest man I've ever met. He kept this pain for my sister and me our whole lives, and never tried to get back at them ever. Yet my mom and her husband have walked around with this dirty secret pretending they are soulmates. No. Not soulmates to me. They are evil human beings. My dad may have never found anyone, but I loved him so much, and he is forever my hero. Strongest heart I've ever seen, and I didn't even know it at the time. Edit spelling. My father is 85. Last year I was able to sit down with him and talk about it. I told him he was a good man and he had been wronged. He cried. We have been extremely close since then. He really needed to hear that, I'm sure. I'm happy you have each other. Third story. My 24 male ex-girlfriend 23 female wants to get back together after she ghosted over a false rape allegation. Throwaway. Alright, so 3 years ago me and my high school sweetheart Claire broke up after her younger sister, a 15-year-old at the time, accused me of both raping and sodomizing her. My life was destroyed. I was expelled from university. Had my scholarship terminated. Lost my internship at a tech company. Was assaulted by members of both her and my family. And attempted suicide, all in the span of a couple of months. Claire didn't believe that I was innocent. She blocked me as soon as the news broke and never once reached out to me. She told all of our mutual friends that I was a violent rapist. She never once asked my side of the story and just assumed I was in the wrong. Charges were pressed, and that's when the cracks in her story appeared. Eventually she cracked under the pressure and came clean. She was jealous of how much time I spent with her sister, and how much more her family seemed to like me. Anyway, once news broke, a lot of apologies came through. The only one I waited for was from my ex-girlfriend. She never sent as much as a text message to me. So I left and moved on. 3 years later, and I get a text message from a strange number. The message was from Claire, and she invited me to a dinner. She didn't apologize to me once in this entire message. I went to the dinner and we talked. She talked about how sorry she was. She was sad that she was so quick to make assumptions, and that she should have heard me out. When I asked why she never reached out, she told that her family wouldn't let her. She said that she wanted to go on a few dates and see if we can get back together. Should I? All this time I waited for her was because I loved, but it feels like I can't trust her anymore. It also feels like she didn't really try to reach out in this time. In this day and age, it's really easy to secretly reach out to someone online. Reddit. I need your help. Edit Duncan Tired will answer questions/read comments tomorrow. I really hope you sued for damages and shit. I don't know if that's a real thing, but she should definitely face some consequences for that shit. But no. And I repeat. Duck NO. I'd go complete no contact with your ex. After that type of history and family drama, I'd just steer clear and move on with my life. 3 years is a long time to try and reach out, and after all you will eventually have to see her younger sister at some point if you two renew a relationship. After an allegation like that which resulted in so much pain. Why would you want to surround yourself with that type of negative energy? Fourth story. How do I 30 male handle the horrible relations between my wife 30 female and my mother 50s F after several shitty things my mother has done? Non-romantic. My wife and I have been together 11 years. Married 6. Things have always been pretty shaky between her and my mom. My mom have many toxic traits. She is quick to forget anything anyone does for her, but remembers every favor she did for them. And subtlety holds it over their head when she needs help with someone. She is quick to anger if she feels any form of disobedience or disagreement from anyone that she feels is beneath her or children. Employees. Service employees. etc. Early in our relationship 10 years ago, my mother had a meltdown while drunk over me not taking care of some chore fast enough. Wife then girlfriend stood in my defense and my mom verbally and physically attacked her. I moved out and cut communication to near zero for the next several years. Mother apologized while never admitting to physically hitting wife and asked for a second chance years later. We decided to give her another chance and things were fine for a long time. Since then, my mom has helped us tremendously throughout our relationship. She's helped wife pay for her car, set up the saving account needed for our home down payment when I was younger, given several expensive gifts for our wedding and paid for some expenses, and more recently retired from her small business and gave it to us at a relatively low price. My mom started another, much smaller business with her husband at the same time. My mom has 2 kids with him who I love to spend time with. My mom also plans to sell us the property the business is on within the next couple years. Between the property and business, we are honestly set to retire at a very young age. My mom has done a lot of shitty things after we took over the business, which led to how bad things are now. As I mentioned, her and her husband started their own smaller business on the same property as wife and I's business. It was supposed to be a very 50-50 deal, with land being split in half. Utilities, etc. This changed quickly, with her husband creating a fence in the yard giving us one for the space. It's enough, but just barely and not what was agreed. They also did not respect boundaries from the start, with her husband regularly borrowing our equipment and even vans without asking, and sometimes returning them broken. I immediately made a stance, told them they are to ask for permission before using anything. They also pushed 100% of utilities on us. We were making so much more money than before that we agreed to it as we didn't want to fight over it and felt grateful for the opportunity of running the business. But it was not what was agreed. My mom regularly asks for help with many things in her business regarding technology, payroll, and is constantly asking us to file paperwork for them when they are busy. If we were too busy to drop what we were doing and do it immediately, she would storm out angrily. I waited for things to calm down and had a discussion over boundaries with her. That we have our own business to run and are not going to prioritize her things over our own. And that if we help with something it will be when we are available. Things were just shaky for the first year of running the business, with her constantly ignoring boundaries, requesting way too much of our time, and making rude comments about us not being in the office as much as she is. We often work from home and delegate tasks to our employees, which she takes as us not taking the business seriously or running it properly. She also asks for advances on our business payments regularly. One day, she called me while we were at home and started yelling at how we've acted unappreciative to her and never help her with anything, and that I am entitled like my wife and her parents didn't raise her right, and they're rude too. Some was on speaker so my wife heard. A lot was by text. I sent a lengthy text that she is out of line, that she is being incredibly rude and belligerent, not to talk to me unless it has to do with work, and that we would be finding a new place for the business. We were shocked that she insulted my wife and her family. But that was what really set my wife over the edge. This was the second big incident, and I don't think my wife will get over it or that she should have to. We decide to stay in the same building, because we don't want to give up the opportunity of buying it, and the cost of moving would be significant. There are also not many good options at the time. Things calmed down. We kept a good distance. Short answers to any attempts from my mom to communicate. We blocked her on social media, and my wife blocked her phone number. But we still share business property with her. It's impossible to not see her. Over time, my mom tries acting friendlier. I called her out by phone and had a bit of a meltdown myself, telling her how shitty she's been acting and how she never changes. I can tell it hurt her. And she apologizes. But I know she's not the kind of person to change. She still makes rude comments to our employees about minor things like not letting her know when a package comes in for her right away. My mom and her husband recently announced they were moving out of state and have spent a significant amount of money to do so. It was definitely a relief, as I feel we can sort of wait things out, and then wife won't have to be around her when they move. I am estimating within a year. But there's no set date as they're building the property. I haven't forgiven her. And honestly, I don't like her as a person. Although I do appreciate the things she's done for us. If my mom calls or asks me about a trip, I am friendly enough while keeping things relatively brief. My wife absolutely hates her and would smile if she died. She's mostly quiet if my mom is around, but handles her extremely well to keep the peace. I am stuck in the middle in terms of whether or not to be friendly with my mom. I am not looking to go on family trips or anything, but I am trying to keep peace by balancing everything. She's done and said shitty things to us, but we share a property with her, and I don't have the energy to fight with a neighbor constantly. We also have a vested interest in buying property from her, which isn't possible if we're on bad terms. I also want to be able to see my younger brother and sister occasionally, which wife doesn't really care about. Wife is angry with me because I am not more angry towards my mom. And I don't blame her. But considering everything, I don't have the drive to keep that fight going. I feel if it bothers wife so much, we can just give up on buying the property and move to a new location. She doesn't seem to want that so much as me to have a harder stance on my mom and call her out anytime she does anything rude out of line. Whereas I tend to let it build up and lay it all out eventually as. Like I said, no amount of discussion has really changed my mom's behavior. Am I handling this wrong? Should I prioritize separating wife-mom? Or should we relax and wait it out until they move so we can buy the property and make a lot of money? Too long didn't read. My wife absolutely hates my mom and wishes for me to be more angry about some of the things she's done. I am inclined to keep good relations due to the circumstances. Update. Thanks all for your advice. I am going to discuss getting a new property with my wife to separate us from my mother. Update 2. Wow. Thanks for all the comments and advice. I suppose I should have expected a mix of you're a horrible husband and you're a horrible son. I'll address most clarifications by comment. But I think it's important to mention that we do not regularly receive gifts or handouts from my mom. Any gifts we accepted were early in our marriage after several years of peace. For the business, we had no intention of getting into it. I got accepted into a software engineering firm, and my wife was set to become a teacher. But my mom frankly ran into legal trouble and needed to get out of her business ASAP. This was supposed to be a win-win. We changed our plans and bought the business. But as I mentioned, the price was very low, and in that sense it was a sort of a gift. These days we don't ask her for anything or accept anything given out. And most help is from us given to her. The property isn't going to be discounted for us. We're just going to have first dibs on it. I know these sound like excuses. They're not. It's still engaging in financial deals with someone we know will try to hold it over our head. I just wanted to add some context. I spoke to wife about moving. She thinks it's dumb since they'll be moving soon and there are no other options to buy in our city. We're still discussing how to get on the same page, resolving conflict with my mom, and if we need to go rent somewhere else and give up on buying property. The second thing is that while my wife and I both agreed to deal with my mom, my wife feels more like I've forgiven my mom and that she's on her own and being angry at her for what she's done. Whereas I have been trying to keep peace until my mom moves, despite not really forgiving my mom, as many have suggested. This mostly boils down to me being bad at enforcing boundaries. Thank you again. You should have cut contact completely the moment she physically assaulted your wife. You chose to get back into contact with her, into multiple personal and professional deals with her. And you let her insult your wife and her family. You refused to set any real boundaries with real consequences. You basically expect your wife just accept being abused by your mother because reasons. I definitely think you're framing it wrong when you position it as you being in the middle. You are expecting your wife to make nice with someone who physically assaulted her and belittles her. I get that you're playing the long game. But this has to absolutely suck for your wife. I would think the minimum that you could do would be call your mom out on her behavior. Not only does she have to swallow this abuse at her place of business, but you want her to play nice while she does it. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.